So in this video, I want to do problem 4. So I need to make a new data frame which contains the increase in life expectancy per year for each country in Gapminder. Okay, so let me load Gapminder. And the first thing I want to do is I just want to figure out what it is that we're doing here, right? So for example, this is all the data for Afghanistan, the first country in Gapminder. So what was the increase in the life expectancy per year there? So in 2007, the life expectancy was about 44. In 1952, it was about 29. So the overall increase in life expectancy over the span here of the years is approximately 44. I'm rounding here, minus 29. So life expectancy increased by about 15 years. So what was the increase per year? Well, overall we had this many years, so 2007 minus 1952, so 55 years. So that means that the average pace at which life expectancy was increasing is about 0.27 years per, so kind of years of life expectancy per calendar year. Okay, so on average, we would expect that in 1953 we'd have this life expectancy, but plus about 0.27. Okay, so how did we compute it? So we just said this minus this divided by the 2007 minus 1952. Okay, so what do we need to do here? So for each country, what we want to do is we want to compute the difference in the life expectancy and the difference in the years recorded. So that's actually the same for every country in Gapminder, but we will not be assuming that. So it is in fact in this data frame, always 2007 is the latest year, always 1952 is the earliest year. So I'll load Gapminder, and I'll say Gapminder. And now what I want to figure out is, okay, for each country, what was the difference between the largest year and the smallest year? So for each country, we just want to have one answer. That means that what we want to do is we want to group the rows so that each group belongs to a single country. So we'll say group by country. And now for each group of rows, so for the group of rows for Afghanistan and for the group of rows for Albania and so on, we want to compute what's the difference between the maximum year that was recorded and the smallest year that was recorded, right? So how can we do it? We can say summarize, and we can say year span, let's say, that's a new column, and that would be equal to the max of the year minus the min of the year, right? So because we grouped by country, so for Afghanistan we'll compute the max of the year minus the min of the year. And for Albania we'll do the same thing, so we'll do it separately for every country. So we can look at what that gets us. So we need to load tidyverse as well. So what that gets us is the year span for Afghanistan is 55, the year span for Albania is 55. That's just because for all the countries, like I said, it actually just goes from 1952 to 2007, that's 55 years. So now we also want the increase in life expectancy. So I'll call this inc.le, and what's that? So what we want is we want the life expectancy here minus the life expectancy here. Okay, so another way of putting it is we want the life expectancy that corresponds to the largest year minus the life expectancy that corresponds to the life expectancy that corresponds to the smallest year. So that's exactly the job of which max, right? So if you just look at this group, which max of year is going to give you 12 because it's the 12th row that has the largest year. Which min of year is going to give you this row because that corresponds to the year that's the smallest. So I can say increase OE is life expectancy, that's what we want, at the location of the largest year. So we'll say which max year minus the life expectancy at which min year. So because we group by country, again, what's happening is we're doing it for every group. So for example, for this group, so the location of which max year, of the max year is this, so 12, so you get this life expectancy. Which min of year is going to be this, so you get this life expectancy. And that's the way that you do it for every country automatically. So let's see what that gets us. So now we have the year span, and we have the increase in life expectancy for every country, which is computed by just the life expectancy that corresponds to the largest year minus life expectancy that corresponds to the smallest year. Now what we want is the increase per year. So this would be just this divided by this, and this divided by this, and this divided by this, and so on. So this whole thing that I'm highlighting, that corresponds to this kind of table. So now in this table for every country, we want the increase in life expectancy. So this divided by this. So that means that we want to mutate because we want a column that's the same size as this column and this column. So we'll do mutate. So that will build a new data frame that's the same as the old one, except there is like another column, which would be inc life exp per year or something. Do it like that, and do capital E. So that would just be equal to the increase in the life expectancy divided by the year span. So I'll say inc LE divided by year dot span. So now you have another column. So for each country, we computed this ratio. So what we want is the increase in life expectancy per year for each country. So that's what we have. If we want to kind of be a little bit fussy about it, we can say, oh, I don't want those columns anymore. So you could say select country and this new column that we just created like this. So it's a bit odd because we're creating the columns and now we're dropping them. But I think it was kind of useful to create those columns separately and to only then compute the ratio. You could, of course, do all of that in one line in principle. So you could just define the increase in life expectancy per year directly by just dividing this thing by this thing. So, okay, let's see what that gets us. So now we have the increase in life expectancy per year for each country.